This is the Skechers Aero Burst slip-in. So we have slip-in running shoes now, and we're gonna have to put it to the test. As always, Skechers is doing interesting stuff. We do have plenty of cushion here in the back. We've got 42 millimeters of stack height back here in the back with some pretty good supercritical EVA foam, dropping down to 36 millimeters in the forefoot. That's gonna be a 6 millimeter offset, although Run Repeat did have it higher. So it had this at an 8.8, I believe. Offset. If that is of consequence to you, obviously go ahead and take a look at their setup. Run Repeat does all sorts of good stuff. It did say the energy return on this was pretty good. Somewhere in the middle of firm and soft, or like a middle soft, if you will. We're going to put it to the test. We need to find out if the slip-in actually works, if it's rubbing when we are out there doing our run. If so, that's obviously a huge knock on it. Or maybe it works really well and it's convenient to have an easy shoe you can slip into. I've normally felt that tying your shoe every time you go to run is what makes the most sense to me to get the fit dialed in every time, but we'll find out. We're gonna go through our 3-mile progression as we do every time with these runs. So we'll do a mile at 10-minute pace, a mile at a 30 pace, and then something around 7-minute pace, maybe a little below. It'll be interesting to feel how the shoe is, because we do have a carbon H plate in here similar to the Aero Razor. I'm curious if that's just more of a stability or if we feel like we're getting a little propulsion out of it. So we're gonna go ahead and put it on foot, get a fit test. So this looks a little narrow here. I'm curious how that ends up feeling. And we're going to get a walk test to see just how it feels, if this should be an everyday shoe for you. Then at the end, I will take you through where it maybe fits in rotation, who it's for, and who it's not for as much. So let's go ahead and hop into it. All right, so as always, we've got to get the shoe on foot. So we're gonna hop into it. This is a size 12, which is gonna be my standard size. I sometimes have to size up and stuff if it runs short, but seems like plenty of length here. Lock in fit. I don't even have this tied yet. I am interested if this is gonna end up working well for me. Not entirely convinced yet. So initial feel here, actually, it doesn't feel all that narrow, which is nice. Plenty of room here in the toe. Definitely don't go up in this shoe if you're between sizes. I'm usually a 12 pretty consistently, and this has got a full thumb for a 12. So this is running a little longer than normal. I'm totally happy with the sizing for me. I just feel like I usually have a little less extra room at the front in a 12. I guess I should theoretically be able to do this. And I had it tied relatively tight. Can we slip straight in? Ugh, I guess. I don't know when I'm gonna do that over like tying the shoe and getting that fit a little more dialed in when I go run, but respect for the effort there. As always, if reviews like this are helpful for you, feel free to take a look at the On Toast running brand. It is my own personal running brand. I am getting closer with the running hats. So for those of you who have been following along for the running hats, this is in production of the hopefully last prototype sample. Then hopefully we get to go into full production and get you guys running hats soon. But in the meantime, feel free. I have these quarter zips that are awesome. We got zipper pockets. We've got watch screen holes here. For the quarter zip, we've got really nice, soft feeling t-shirts, like the similar to like a Rabbit type feel. If you have had a Rabbit EZ shirt, we have the On Toast running shirts, and then socks, as always, if you want to just do something small to support the channel. So with that said, let's go ahead and get our walk test in and then get into the running so I can tell you guys the important information. All right, so initial feel, I am feeling a good bit of support here through the arch. I don't feel particularly narrow up here. As always, I do not have a narrow, or a wide foot rather. Sizing is okay. We got about a half thumb on a 12. If I scooch my heel back, we've got closer to a full thumb of space. The heel gives a little squish. It actually visually looks more from looking down on it than it really feels. I mean, I can definitely, if I do this, I can move my heel around quite a bit. I'm curious how that ends up working when we're running. No other like big call outs. It does feel like there's a ton of room on the inside and outside of the collar. I have not heel locked this yet. I kind of imagine I'm going to have to, but then it kind of kills the point of the slip in. We'll see what happens. But anyhow, with a walk test, just walking out, feels like a pretty standard shoe. I'm not getting crazy good or crazy any kind of vibes. Stable enough on the walk feel. Feeling a little bit of slipping. I mean, I can feel that slip feel. So honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of nix the runner's, the slip in idea and do the runner's loop. All right, with that runner's loop done, we'll do another test. And that feels much more secure with the lockdown. The bounce is okay. This is an okay bounce feel. Not like dramatic or impressive, but sufficient. Okay, so about a half a mile in here. Per usual, first thoughts, okay, not special. Heel slipping went away when we did the heel lock. I'll test at the end if I can slip my heel in and back out with a runner's loop on it. Not high hopes on that front, but we'll see. One of the other things I forgot to mention in the first part is this is a pretty heavy shoe. So I want to say it's 11.2 ounces or 11.4. That is pretty hefty. Not an initial thing I'm like really feeling, but I could see as we go faster, you know, being like, what is it, almost an ounce heavier than the Monster 3. I could see this getting pretty cumbersome at the faster paces. Not a huge rocking feel yet on the geometry of it. It was supposed to be pretty like reasonably rockered and not getting much of that yet, which is fine. Like, I don't love a huge rocker. I don't hate a huge rocker, but something of note, if you don't like a big rocker, this might work for you. And the last thing on this first little bit is does not have the poppy playfulness that was in the Aero Razor. So if you happen to like that shoe and we're hoping to get the same out of this, I do not think that's in the cards. So we'll go ahead, finish the mile out, and then get to the next couple of paces and see how it does there. First mile done here, right on pace for 9:56. I do like the arch feel on here, so I wear a yellow Curex sometimes when my feet feel tired. This has a nice feel to it, almost feels like a yellow Curex is in there. So a lot of arch support if that's something you tend to look for, or when you do longer runs, if you feel like you get fatigued in a way where you'd maybe want some extra support on the arch. I could see this working nicely. As I said, the weight didn't feel super prominent, but we'll see if that holds true as we go longer. You know, the lower you're running in terms of your max pace, the less I think you're going to be bothered by some of that stuff. You know, when I'm down to 7-minute pace and moving faster or around my threshold, I can't imagine I'm going to want this heavy of a brick on my foot, but we'll just keep rolling. I'm moving through this kind of quickly today, and kind of in a nice way where I'm not overthinking any of this. I'm just trying to get the feel, the sentiment of the shoe, and if it's going to work at these different paces. So we'll go ahead and get into the next rep here. A little past the half a mile in. We've been playing with different paces. Started a little fast, so I was down at like 8:20 pace. I slowed it down to like 8:40 pace, and we're getting an okay feel for it. You get a little better rocker here. The cushion on the heel feels a little better. I'm landing a little further up, so when I'm running 10-minute pace, I'm usually heel striking a little more. Not that I'm not here, it's just a little further up on the heel. That's got an okay feel. It transitions well. Surprisingly, not bothered by the weight again. That might be a last mile thing, if anything. It's giving pretty competent vibes. I'm just wondering if this is going to end up in the same kind of category as the New Balance 1080, where you're like, this is an easy run shoe kind of vibe. All right, second mile done there. More pleasant than I was expecting off of that first mile. As I said, a little better rocker feel, a little more lively. I'm still like, it's not like, oh yeah, I want to go run fast, but competent, certainly. I think it's going to have to end up living in that long run world. But if that's something you need and you just do a lot of longer, easier running, or you're newer to the sport, I could see this being pretty good overall. This could be your like one intro shoe. It's not like it doesn't want to go anywhere, but the cushion's firm. I don't feel like it's going to give that like early dying feel. If it does well on the next mile, the 7-ish, maybe sub 7-minute pace, then I'll be impressed enough to say like, oh yeah, this could really maybe end up as a option for some folks out there, because I do think there is a place for these higher cushion, a little bit higher stack, not as poppy kind of shoes, if it's something that you want in your rotation. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and hop into the next mile. Half a mile in, and I gotta say, much more impressed than I anticipated. It got much more lively here at this pace. Still very firm feeling overall, but pretty good. The pace feels hard here, but it's doing it. So we're gonna go ahead and finish the mile out, then I'll give final thoughts. Okay, 6:45 for that. Not bad. Now, I do feel pretty good and slept well. That probably helps, but still pretty good. All right, so that was the Skechers Aero Burst slip-in. One of the first questions I asked was, how does it do with the heel slipping, if anything at all? Fine on that front. Once I runners looped it, that feels like it kind of solved the problem. I think it kind of makes it a moot point trying to slip in and slip out of it. I tried it off camera and it didn't really work for me. That said, I tie my shoes every time I go run. So who does that mean that this is for? Maybe somebody who wants an easy slip in that they can do a walk with. So going out and walking in this shoe, I think, would be a big thumbs up. I didn't have any issues with the fit. I didn't think it was particularly narrow. I know some other folks had said that, but not a big problem for me here. How did it do across the 3 paces? I didn't actually like it very much at the easiest pace. The 10-minute pace is not where I think this was doing the best. It was probably that 8:30 pace, and there it was okay. I think this would be good for like 0 up to 8:30 mile pace. Even though it felt okay at the faster pace, the sub 7-minute pace, I just don't know when I'd be pulling for something like this, as heavy as it is, for that kind of run. For me, it could fit into my rotation. I could see pulling this over a Super Blast 3 if I wanted a more normal feeling, lower stack somehow shoe that's not as wild feeling. If I want just a normal planted feeling that's going to take some shock for me, give me some arch support, I think this does pretty well on that front. All right, so who's it for? Who is it maybe not for? And the value. Who it is for, as I said, somebody who wants that 0 to 830 easy pace, that maybe doesn't want the hassle of slipping in and doesn't mind a little bit of slipping on the heel. Who is it not for? Somebody that already has this category of shoe. It feels like it would end up being redundant compared to like your Brooks Glycerin or your 1080 from New Balance or your Saucony Triumph. It feels like it fits in well to that category. You know, if I was blindfolded and had each one of those shoes put on, I don't know that I would feel any sort of way about the Skechers over any of those. I could see this fitting right into the middle of those. So maybe worth a try on if you've got it at a local running store. So for me, if I was filling out a rotation, this could be your like one shoe where you don't need anything to go particularly fast. It could be your easy day shoe to go along with something faster. Like actually this in a Skechers Aero Razor would actually be a very good rotation. The value point, I think a Skechers Aero Razor would be way more value than this. It does fit a little differently into rotations, but man, just the lightweight feel of the Skechers Aero Razor, the price point, the foam that's in that shoe, they pack so much tech into a really value-based package. And I like that a lot. This at $165, I think fits in. It doesn't stand out as a big value. Scale of 0 to 10, how do I totally rate the shoe? I give it a fine, like a 6.5 or so. Nothing super stand out about it. I thought it did feel good at the faster pace, but again, like feels good, and I want to go run that 645 mile in the shoe. Definitely not going to end up in the real world how I'm using the shoe. If I'm running that fast, I want something faster that's made to do that a little bit more. I could see if you do have a little bit of extra weight, this being a nice feeling shoe for you. So the firmer shoes, I think, one, tend to hold up longer, and two, usually feel a little better, a little more squishy if you have a little more weight going into it. So I could see that working pretty well. And finally, I think they did do a very good job on the arch support with this. It almost does feel like it has like a $60 insert in it, and I really appreciate that. That's definitely a big thumbs up to Skechers. So if that's important to you, could certainly be a consideration. I did not feel like I was wobbling around anywhere. So good stability, good traction, no big issues there. Heel to toe drop felt fine. So with all that said, I could see this being a shoe that could be worth picking up for you if you want to. As always, I do recommend going to try it on in person at a local running store if you can swing that. So that is all we've got for the Skechers Aero Burst today. If you want to help support me and the channel and like reviews like this, definitely go check out the Ontos running brand. I should have a description down below. Or if you want to take a look at one of the videos that pops up here or a playlist, we'd love to have you stick around on the channel. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.